Okay, let's unpack this. We are diving deep into Rivian today,
Hmm.
a company that, usually gets people excited about a new truck or an SUV. But the big headline lately, it wasn't about a vehicle. It was all about artificial
It's
intelligence.
a huge pivot in their narrative.
Exactly. So our mission today is pretty laser focused. We're dissecting a stack of sources on Rivian's new AI strategy. We're talking their own proprietary chip, massive autonomy updates.
And crucially, the money, the financial and political context behind it all.
Right, and the sources we're looking at, they have a very specific lens. I'd almost call it cynical. They're really homing in on the company's reliance on government funding.
On taxpayer support, specifically.
So we've got this tension. On one hand, you have shiny, ambitious innovation. On the other, you have questions about the financial foundation.
What's fascinating here is exactly that juxtaposition. A major tech announcement, a huge market reaction. Investors were thrilled.
Absolutely thrilled.
But the core critique from the source material is powerful. So our goal is to synthesize these two things. How much is real self-sustaining innovation and how much is, well, hype that's built on public financial support?
A perfect way to frame it. So let's start with that investor enthusiasm, because the numbers, they're hard to ignore.
They really are.
After they unveiled their AI plans, Rivian's stock just soared. It closed Friday up 12.1%. That's its highest price since 2023.
And that's just the one-day picture, if you zoom out.
It's even bigger. The stock climbed nearly 40% in 2025. That completely blows past the S&P 500's gain of 16%. It's Wall Street just falling in love with an AI story.
An incredible performance. But this is where the source material immediately throws on the brakes, pours on some cold water.
A reality check.
A big one. The documents are blunt, saying this is impressive, and I'm quoting here, until you remember this is the same company that's been hemorrhaging cash faster than a leaky radiator.
That is a vivid image. So why is Wall Street just ignoring that cash burn?
Well, because they're not looking at it like a car company anymore. The sources suggest they're valuing it as a software and services company.
Ah, the subscription model.
Exactly. Wall Street loves an AI story because it means recurring revenue.
Yeah.
High-margin software subscriptions, licensing. That's valued at a totally different multiple than just selling hardware.
Right. We're talking 70, 80% margins on software versus what they're doing now, which is losing money on every truck they build.
It completely changes the company's trajectory, at least on paper.
So the stock surge isn't about today's car sales. It's about a promise of high-margin digital services tomorrow. Okay, that makes sense. But the sources tie that future right back to the funding.
Immediately. They are very focused on the claim that this whole narrative is fueled, at least in part, by external support. Specifically that Illinois taxpayers are footing the bill for the production costs.
That is a very politically charged claim. What's the specific mechanism they're pointing to?
The documents allege the company relies heavily on, government subsidies, public welfare programs. They point to massive tax incentives and infrastructure funding from Governor Pritzker's administration.
Which, to be fair, is often aimed at creating jobs and building up the local tech hub.
Of course. But the source material, it frames this support as exceptionally generous. One might say suspiciously generous, arguing that these public funds are effectively keeping the production line afloat and, offsetting the immense R&D costs for this whole AI push.
So impartially, the summary is that public money is a major part of their stability right now, and the source frames that as the public underwriting the risk.
That's the core of the critique.
Which gives us a great question for you listening. When you're evaluating a company's success, how do you weigh that short-term investor hype against long-term financial stability and, dependence on outside funding?
It's a tough balance. And to justify all that, the tech itself has to be really, really good.
And that brings us to what they are actually building, this proprietary hardware. They're calling it the Rivian Autonomy Processor 1, or RIP1.
RIP1.
And the sources are clear. This is designed to replace NVIDIA tech. So my question is why? Why ditch a proven industry leader like NVIDIA? Isn't that a huge risk?
It's a massive bet, but it's all about control. If you look at the specs on this chip, which is being fabricated by TSMC, by the way, it's powerful. 1,600 trillion operations per second.
Wait, say that again? 1,600 TOPS. For someone who doesn't, track chip performance, what does that number actually mean?
It means it has massive processing power. enough to handle the complexity of real-time Level 3 or maybe even Level 4 autonomous driving. This isn't just for highway cruise control, it's for robust self-driving.
So developing it themselves gives them control over the software, the cost, the whole supply chain.
That's the strategic argument. The source material does kind of poke at this, pointing out that since TSMC is making it, it's not exactly homegrown innovation.
Right. But going proprietary, even with a partner, seems like a smart defensive move. You're not tied to a competitor's roadmap.
And its purpose is serious. RAP1 is going to power their enhanced self-driving, and it's integrating with a new LiDAR sensor for the upcoming R2 SUVs.
The R2 is their mass market vehicle, right? So the success of this chip is tied directly to their future profitability.
Absolutely. And you can see why they need all that power when you look at their autonomy expansion data. The jump in hands-free driving coverage is, well, it's staggering.
How staggering are we talking?
Their old coverage was only about 150,000 miles. With this new AI push, they're now claiming 3.5 million miles across the U.S. and Canada.
Wow. That's a 23-fold increase?
Something like that. It's a huge number. And that coverage is the total road network that's been mapped, tested, and certified for their hands-free system. It's a huge metric for building consumer trust.
So that sounds like an absolute game changer for them.
It is a massive leap, but, and this is a big from our documents, this leap really only brings Rivian closer to where Tesla was years ago. The source says they're still trailing Tesla by a country mile. The framing is kind of humorous. Like, they finally got a full meal at the autonomy buffet, but the main party was already winding down.
There's that tension again. A huge internal achievement, but then you look at the competition.
Exactly.
And RAP1 isn't just for driving, it's also powering a new proprietary AI assistant inside the car.
Right. That's the software layer.
Yeah.
Rivian wants this assistant to, deepen customer engagement, differentiate their user interface, make the vehicle feel like an integrated platform, not just a device.
An ecosystem.
Yeah. And of course, the skeptical view from the source is that they're basically just reinventing Alexa or Google Assistant, but now it's tied to the car and implicitly to the Illinois government contributions that funded it.
So all this innovation, the chip, the autonomy coverage, the assistant, it's all designed to feed one goal.
Unlocking those high-margin recurring revenue streams.
Okay, let's pivot to the market realities then. Because investors seem to be ignoring all this critique. They're still incredibly enthusiastic.
The word the source uses is giddy. Analysts are giddy about the shift to AI and autonomy, seeing it as the key to unlocking subscriptions and licensing.
And that strong rally happened even while the broader market was seeing AI stocks sell off.
Which signals either, genuine investor confidence or perhaps just selective amnesia about the company's fundamentals. They're buying into the story, not the current profit and loss statement.
And that story becomes even more precarious when you consider the whole industry is struggling.
Yeah, slide 8 in our documents lays out the hard truths, and it makes their push for subscriptions feel less like a choice and more like an act of desperation.
What are the big ones?
First, EV sales growth has just slowed down dramatically. High interest rates, consumer hesitation, all of that. Second, autonomous driving adoption is glacially slow. The regulations and tech hurdles are just immense.
And then you've got the legacy automakers who are finally taking EVs seriously and have much, much deeper pockets.
Exactly. And to top it all off, general consumer enthusiasm for EVs has cooled. The source has another great line for this, saying it's cooling faster than a battery in a Minnesota winter.
That is descriptive. And those are the headwinds they're flying into while trying to sell this new tech.
It's a very challenging picture.
Here's another question for you to think about. Considering these broader challenges, low demand, slow regulatory approval, what are the biggest risks Rivian faces in convincing you, the customer, to pay extra for their new AI features?
I think the main risk is just reluctance. If people are already balking at the price of the car, is a monthly subscription for features that competitors might offer for free or that aren't even fully legal to use everywhere. Is that going to fly? It's a massive gamble.
And that gamble leads us right into the 4 big steps Rivian has planned for the future, their to-do list.
First up, in 2026 is the Autonomy Plus launch. That's the moment of truth. Can they actually monetize these AI features with a subscription?
Second, and this is huge, is production scaling. They have to scale up, which costs a fortune. The source just notes this is tough when you're burning cash like it's going out of style.
A recurring theme. The third step is demand generation. They have to get people excited about EVs again in this very cool market.
And finally, they have to deliver. Autonomy delivery. They have to actually make good on all these complex promises, which, Well, the source hints that if they fail, they'll just need more government help to stay afloat.
And if we connect all this to the bigger picture, the conclusion from the source material really captures this tension perfectly.
Let's hear it.
It basically says Rivian's AI push is a bold, necessary pivot. It has successfully won over Wall Street for now, but it all relies heavily on the continued generosity of state funding.
So you have two competing views. The optimistic view is, Rivian has vision, ambition, they're taking control of their tech.
And making announcements that send the stock soaring.
But then you have the realistic view. The company has to navigate a brutal market, manage huge execution risks, and, eventually wean itself off that heavy state backing to find stable growth.
The road ahead is challenging, and according to this source material, it's a road that's currently paved with taxpayer dollars.
So what does this all mean? The source frames this entire story as innovation built on a foundation of taxpayer generosity. And that leaves the ultimate question for you, the listener. It's a provocative one.
Mm-hmm.
Can a company fundamentally change an industry with technological leaps, even if those leaps are financially underwritten by public funding? Or is the whole idea of high private returns fundamentally at odds with using public money to mitigate the risk?
That's the riddle.
It is. It's the riddle that Rivian and, I guess, the taxpayers of Illinois are trying to solve right now. If you enjoyed this detailed breakdown and you want more deep dives like this, please hit that subscribe button, share this, and let us know what we should unpack next.
We'll see you next time.